So this is the advanced taxation class. Now we are confronted with a new syllabus, which will span from 2024 to 2029. And this is the outlook of the syllabus. So we'll be looking at tax administration, from which there will be 10 marks. We'll be looking at business income tax, how business incomes are taxed. And we will take a look at the business entities that are in Ghana, according to section 18, the 4 business entities. We'll be looking at the sole proprietor, the self-employed who is doing his own business. We'll be looking at the partnership, how it is taxed. We'll be looking at how a company too is taxed, and we'll be looking at how a trust is also taxed. We will take a look at those things. Then we'll be looking at the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy used not to be part of this syllabus. So it's actually in level 2, so they brought it in level 3, where we see how tax is used as a tool to manage an economy. All right, so you know that you have contractual measures and we have expansionary measures. All right, if the government wants to control the flow of money in the system, how will he do it? If you want to also reduce the amount of money in the system, how will he do it? So he uses tax. So for example, a simple example you can get is that when the government wants to reduce people's disposable income such that demand will be less, because the more you get money, the more you buy stuff. So if he doesn't want you to get more money to buy stuff, instead of him not spending, the government, because if the government spends, people will get money. But instead of him not spending, what he wants to do is that he wants to use tax as a tool. And so therefore, he will increase taxation and people's disposable income will rather reduce. So we will be learning those things. Then we will be learning tax on natural resources. So petroleum resources and mining resources. Recently, we heard of lithium. All right. So if we have the act on that, we will just go through on that one too. Then we have tax planning, which is a very favorite topic. How you plan your activities such that you reduce your tax. Now, you see, they've added ethics to it because people have been using tax planning unethically. We call that one aggressive tax planning. It is not illegal, but it is unethical. So they want us to do the tax planning, tax avoidance within the space of ethics. So we look at that. Then the new thing they also brought into the syllabus are these new ones, these 2 new topics. Transaction taxes. Transaction taxes, they are just basically talking about VAT. So VAT used to be in level 2, and now we are now going to consider VAT in level 3. So and I think it makes sense because for me, if you are doing a course like this and you don't know VAT, because if VAT is in level 2, what happens is that people who get exemption from the level 2 are actually going to miss out on it. So, I mean, when it is like this, I think that it helps. All right. So basically, they are just bringing VAT into level 3 so that if you get exemption to level 3, from level 2 to level 3, you are not missed out on the VAT. And after that, we will look at some emerging trends in taxation. That is a purely discursive-based concept. Then later on, we will be looking at international taxation. All right, so this is the outlook of your syllabus, and that is what we are going to take a look to discuss. So if you check this, but one thing about a taxation exam is that tax is a law paper. So you cannot change a syllabus on a law like that. The law is already existing. So good news for you is that it is the same past question you need to do over and over so that you can be prepared for the exam. That's all. All right. So we will be going through that when we take each topic. We'll be going through that. Now, for my class with you, this is how it's going to look like. We will start by doing tax administration. So our focus will be on tax administration. Then when we are done with tax administration, we will take a look at the fiscal policy. All right, so we will do the fiscal policy. Once we are done with the fiscal policy, then we will come to tax planning. You come to tax planning. All right, so that is how we are going to look at it. We will do tax planning. Then when we are done with tax planning, we will now look at the business income tax. Then as part of a business, the person may be operating a business. So maybe operating a business in, let's say, in local business or international business, we'll be looking at international taxation. Then we'll be looking at the taxation on the natural resources. Then later on, we will talk about the VAT, then the emerging issues. All right, so that is how it is going to look like. I will send you a timetable of our meeting, all right, so that you know every meeting, when we meet, what we are actually doing. All right, so now let's start with tax administration. Tax administration. Let's start everything up now. We turn our attention to tax administration. A little, not much of something to calculate, but it's a law, something that you need to actually have an idea of. Now, when with the laws we are looking at is this. We are looking at the Income Tax Act, and I'll share it with you on your platform. So Income Tax Act, we are looking at the Income Tax Act. The act was given to us in 2015, August 2015. So Act 896. And we will be looking at the Revenue Administrative Act, and that is the one for the administration, tax administration. So I'll also share with you the Revenue Administration Act. That one was in 2016. It is Act 915. Then because we are learning tax administration, a little must come from the GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority Act. That one was issued by our late President Atta Mills in 2009, Act 791. So for now, these are the acts that we are going to use for tax administration. Now, when we get to the VAT, we will use the VAT Act, the 2013 one. Then when we get to the petroleum, we'll be using the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. So, and also the Income Tax Act. So we'll be combining it. Now, understand that this is purely a matter or a subject of law and not of opinion. So your opinion doesn't really matter. It is the law that matters, all right? And that is why you are studying this professionally, because you will be dealing in an office. Somebody will say, I think it should be this. It is not about what you think. It is about what the law says, all right? So basically that is, I always tell people that if you want to influence the law, then you have to check who you vote for as a member of parliament. You don't just do foot soldier vote and now come back and say you don't understand how things are happening. No, you don't do that. All right, so now let's look at tax administration. When we talk about tax administration, we are just talking about how the tax system in a state is regulated or it is directed, how it is being managed, how the tax system works in a country. All right, so basically that is that. Now, personally, I have grouped the tax system or the tax administration into two broad categories. For me, there is the governance aspect. There's the governance aspect. And there is the element, what actually makes tax administration? What do we see to know that there is a concept of tax administration happening? All right, but the governance, we are looking at those who regulate it, the regulatory authority. So here, our focus will be on the GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority. So our focus will be on the GRA. Because in terms of governance, we used to have a law existing, and in 2009, we repealed that law. And what has happened is that now we have three broad categorization of the Ghana Revenue Authority. So in the first place, we have the DTRD, all right? So you remember, if you were, I think in 2002, we had IRS, if you remember. We had IRS, then we had customs, then we have VAT. Now, in 2009, those concepts were repealed. So now we have the DTRD, Domestic Tax Revenue Department, Domestic Tax Revenue Division, or it's actually called division. So we have one, the first one, that is that. And these people, you see, this is the old one. We had the IRS and we have customs. Now, in the new concept, the DTRD is in charge of IRS, which is income tax, and also VAT. So now we pay these ones to them. So that is the side of it. Then we have the customs. We have the custom division. All right. So when you go to the custom division too, there is somebody in charge of that. Then lastly, we have the support services. So the IT, the HR of GRA. So there are some people working in GRA, they have no knowledge about tax. All they do is IT. All they do is manage HR, all right, system. So that is that. All right. So it is not everybody who works in GRA that knows the law. All right. So that is that. So now this is the three main divisions. In fact, if you read the law carefully, the law says that these are the three plus any other division that Parliament will actually open up. So it is not three. It is actually three or more in case Parliament does it. But as it stands now, this is what we have. So very soon, if a government wants to create employment, they can just open up another division in GRA and call it so and so division. All right. So that is that. So that is what we have. So this is what has come to actually kill off the old system. All right. That is what has actually come to kill off the old. So now this is what we have. So this part is purely for customs. It's purely for customs. All right. So basically, that is what it is. Now, what are the objectives of GRA? What are they set up for? GRA. So know the divisions of GRA, know their objective. Their objective is simple, and their objectives are what we will later discuss as the elements. We will go into that, their objectives and their functions. We summarize them together, and that goes into the elements. Now, the object of GRA is to actually come up with a holistic approach to tax. When we say a holistic, it means that from start to finish, you don't do it in between. No, you give us the process from the start and you end it completely. That is what we call a holistic approach. So they have to give us a holistic approach to tax and custom administration. Now, this thing is very difficult to do. My research is in tax, my thesis is in tax, and I can see how difficult this part is, having a holistic approach to tax. We are trying to use technology, but we've not educated people much more on the technology. Now, that is their objective. So they want to have a holistic approach to tax and custom administration. Not only that, they want to reduce compliance costs. And one of the reasons why in my thesis, yes, bringing in the technology is trying to it's my argument that it reduces the compliance cost. So, for example, let's say I work in Tema. GRA used to have some divisions called STO, MTO, and LTO. Now, the LTOs were the large tax offices. So, those people who had revenue exceeding 1 million all belonged to LTO in those days. Now, imagine in Ghana, the LTO we used to have was the one that got bent at Circle. I don't know if you know that place. That at the Braka area, that Circle one, they call it the VAT house now. Imagine, and it was so bad that if you are in Bolgatanga, that was the only LTO. So you have to come from Bolgatanga or Tamale, wherever you are, to come to that place to pay your tax. I mean, that is so sad. It makes compliance expensive. So what happened is that we now need to bring in technology so that wherever you sit, you can file your tax. Wherever you sit, you can pay your tax. All right. So that is what my thesis is about. Now, so we try to reduce compliance costs. That is the perspective of GRA, and also offer better services. That is the object. All right. You don't need to memorize this. I mean, think about it. Why are GRA existing? A holistic approach. Make tax, reduces tax compliance, promote efficiency in tax collecting. All right. You have to promote efficiency, integrity, transparency, accountability. All right. And information linkage between these divisions. There has to be information linkage between these people. That is why we have these support services. All right. So that is that. So those are the objects of GRA. I mean, to provide a one-stop service, I mean, a common procedure to enable people be governed by one set of tax rules. All right. So these are things that you can come out of on top of your head and just mention them out. Of course, hardly do you get an exam question in this area, but just in case if it comes, then that is what you need to do. Now, I'll give you an acronym that you will use to remember it. All right. It also go now. Listen, the function of an entity is it into its object, because your objective determines your function. And so, if you say to provide a holistic approach, all right, to tax and custom administration, if we say is to be able to collect the tax efficiently, if it is to say we want to provide a set of rules that will govern, bring all people under one set of tax governance. If we say that we want to, efficiently do tax collection and also properly account for it, then that will be our function. So again, we have the, what do we call it? Assess people, pay the money that you have, and I'm going to these functions form the element, and I'm going to use it later to explain the whole concept to you. I call it, when you want to use it as the element, you can use FACA. 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 That is the function of GRA. F simply means finding the taxpayer. GRA must find taxpayers. It must bring everybody into the tax net. All right, everyone into the tax net. So finding the taxpayer, and we will talk about this in section 10 to section 12 of the Revenue Administrative Act. All right. Then we have A. A simply means that assessing the taxpayer. So if you have identified me, then you have to also be able to assess me. All right. You have to be able to assess me. Then C, if you have assessed me, then anyway, what do you think C will be after you finish assessing the person? Just think about it. What do you think C will be? Think about it.
You calculate what the person is supposed to pay.
Yeah, calculating what the person is supposed to pay is what we call assessment. And so what will C be? Think about it. After you have calculated what the person is supposed to pay, what will you do?
Collect the tax.
Exactly. So you collect the tax assessed. So collection of tax assessed. Then A will be accounting for the tax assessed. So you have to account to us how much you collected. So that is that. So those are the things that we will be learning, and those form the same function of the tax. I teach at UCC, and when I am teaching them the functions of the authority, I just add RE to it. So I use this one and the FACA, and I'll add RE to it. Now, this one, the R, I will say it is about dispute resolution. So resolution of dispute. All right. Yeah. So I normally add, but you see, all these ones that we are talking about, they are already inside the collection. At the time you are collecting or you are assessing, somebody will dispute it, and you will be doing dispute resolution. It is a question I take for you now that they've made this thing, they've changed the syllabus. It's a question I take for you, because you don't expect people to actually say, oh, thank you, you have assessed me, and whatever you have assessed me, I'm going to pay. All right. You have to challenge it as a tax practitioner. And so we will learn how we go through the dispute resolution. That one was actually changed in 2020, COVID time, section 41 of the Revenue Administrative Act. So we will look at the new one, all right? So that is the function of GRA, and so that is what you see. Now, you see, we now know the functions of GRA. We now know their objective, but what is the governing body of GRA? And you need to know this. Recently, I think issues popped up in Ghana about the Commissioner General and all those stuff. All right, GRA is actually run by a board. And the last chairman we had was Professor Adai. The new chairman, I think I've forgotten about him a little. Yeah, but there is a new chairman. So GRA is actually run by a board. Yeah, it's run by a board. Now, on the board, there are 9 members on the board. 9 members. We have the chairman of the board, or the chairperson, because sometimes it can be a woman, the chairperson. Then we have when you have the chairperson. You see, let me give you the 2 instances. Why Atamils decided to, the late Professor Atamils decided to do this, bring this GRA Act into place. Before, the board was made up of 11, and you know this thing about professors, they want to kind of minimize cost, and that is why, interestingly, the opposition party keeps accusing the current party of large government. Yeah, when they can actually try and reduce some of them. They used to be 11 before. Why were they 11? You know, I showed you this one. I showed you the earlier one that we had. Now, in this earlier one, we will have the board chairman or the chairperson. Then we will have commissioner general for the 3 departments. All the 3 divisions, we have commissioner general for them. But the president was like, why should we have commissioner generals for the 3 divisions? No, we will just have 1 commissioner general. So we have the commissioner general. So he chalked off 2 from the 11. So that is what happened. He chalked off 2 from the 11. So now we are left with 9. All right. So now we are left with 9. So with that, we have the commissioner general. And now it's a lady. It used to be Reverend Amishadai. So we have 1 commissioner general. So that is that. Now, after this commissioner general, we have representation from these 3 major ministries who are always normally part of cabinet. Anyway, they are part of cabinet. We have a rep from the, what do you call it? Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance. Then we have a rep from Bank of Ghana. Now, and we have a rep from Ministry of Trade and Industry. Now, watch this. These reps, the one that come from Ministry of Finance, should not be below the rank of a director. And this one too should not be below the rank of a director. And this one should not be below the rank of deputy governor. All right? Deputy governor. Now, if you have worked in public sector before, you realize that these directors are non-partisan. They are supposed to be non-partisan, because if you know public sector well, we have the minister, we have the deputy minister, then we have the chief director. This chief director is not supposed to be partisan, because these people, they are appointed by the government, but this guy is already there. So the thing is that the rep should not be below that rank. Now, After you've had them, you see, this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. That makes 4. Sorry, 5, right? Supposed to be 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The remaining 4, it is said to be from the private sector. Anybody from the private sector, 2 of whom should be women compulsorily. So 2 should be women. At least 2 should be women. Then now you see the law made it like this. It says that 2 of whom 2 should be women. The law didn't bring the word at least. 2 should be women. It just said 2 should be women. But recently, you know, there is this what did they call it? The new act they just passed last week. It's about women equality. Just last week, Parliament passed the law. Yeah. So you see, with this thing that was done, you could see it is gender bias. But you see, this minister is always a male. Ministers, when it comes to money matters, they are always Deputy Bank of Ghana is a male. Ministry of Trade, male. Commissioner General, male. This commissioner is now a female. Right? It used to be a male. Chairperson, always a male. So now you have only 2 here. So now at least we have 3 in the current one. That is what we have. They said they call that an affirmative action. Yeah, something like that. The new act that they just passed last week. Yeah. So that is that. They are trying to just bring in gender balance into the thing. So this is the composition of the GRA. Please you know you are a student of tax. And so these things should come just regular on top of your head. But the thing is that
the affirmative action.
please come again.
So the law they passed is the affirmative action gender bill.
Yeah, that is the one I was referring to. Yeah. So, and the thing is that all these people are appointed by the president under Article 70 of the Constitution. So, I mean, this is where a political party concept comes in. All right. So that is that. So just know the structure of the GRA. And of course, when you are asked to talk about the function of any board under any topic, under any subject, the functions of board are just 3. They are basically just 3. You can group them into 3. So number 1 is that they are the one who sets policies. All right. So they are policy setters. So every board is policy. Every board, it doesn't matter. They set policies. So they are policy setters. Now, if you are the one who set the policy, they are the same people who will supervise and monitor the policy. All right. Then the last thing is that they determine the scheme of service for everyone. Scheme of service. In fact, even payroll, they are the ones. All right. So everything is on the board. Everything is on the board. Now, the law says that we should add performance of any other function incidental to the object of Ghana Revenue Authority. So that one is any other function. All right. So that is that. All right. So that is the first function of the board. They are supposed to ensure effective performance of the authority. All right. And once they do, then they make any recommendations to the minister. You know, GRA is under the Ministry of Finance. All right. So that is that. Now, this is where I was referring to, I spoke about earlier, the new division, as you can see. So this is the new division. Like I said, don't go and say it is 3 division. The law never said it is 3 division. We have DTR, the Custom Division, Support Service Division, and any other division as determined by Parliament. It's just that as it stands now, we don't have any other division as determined by Parliament. By a government who wants to create employment, will create another division and bring it in. All right. So that is that. Now, let's stay a little. We are still on governance aspect, and I think we will end the governance aspect probably with the functions of the Commissioner General, because he is the one that came on telly, right? He is the one whose salary came out for everybody to see. So who is the Commissioner General? When we say a Commissioner General, who is the Commissioner General? A Commissioner General is actually appointed by the President of Ghana. All right. And he will hold the office for 4 years, renewable for another 4-year term. All right. So just as the president is voted, the president can be coming in. So you see, this politics, it's a big game. It's a very big game. So if you right now, you can associate yourself with a political party in the hope that with your knowledge in tax, if you are there on top of it, then you'll be appointed as Commissioner General. Politics is a big game because the power that has been given to the president is so much. Yeah, so it's a big game. Now, Section 14 of 791 Act 791 tells us what the Commissioner General is supposed to do. A Commissioner General is just a CEO. He's just a managing director of Ghana Revenue Authority. Now, the Commissioner General is just to see to the day-to-day running of the business, just as any managing director will go to his office. That is the function of the Commissioner General. As a matter of fact, his office is very small. I've been to his office, like his room, the office room. It is very, very small. Yeah. But I'm friends with his assistant, the one who set your exam question. Yeah, the examiner for tax in Ghana. Yeah. So when you go, he rather has the big table and everything. I mean, if you want to see the commissioner, you have to pass through him. So you see that big table, all the works, everything is actually on his table. But what does the Commissioner General do? Yes, he is for day-to-day administration of the authority, the things in the GRA. So it means that he is answerable to the chairman. If you saw the organogram that I drew, so he's answerable to the chairman. So he is supposed to see to the day-to-day administration of the things that happen, the day-to-day, as you can see, and he will be answerable to the board, i.e., most importantly, the chairman. All right. So he performed all the things that the board tells him to do. All right. So that is what happens. That is what happens. So of course, since he's the CEO, he can tell his heads of department to be doing things. But don't forget, those people, the organogram that I drew, this organogram that I drew, if you saw it, this one, this organogram, this one, you saw the head, Commissioner General. But with these three people, this one, this guy, the DTRD has a commissioner. He's not a Commissioner General, he's just a commissioner of DTRD. And that is Mr. Jamra. All right. Then we have the commissioner for customs too. We have the commissioner for support services too. So each of the department or division has a commissioner, but the overall will be there. We call him the Commissioner General. That is the one when the Amishadai issue came and he was asked to leave office. Now we have a woman in place of the Commissioner General position. So basically that is that. So I mean, he's for day-to-day administration. He performs the actions as determined by the board. Of course, he can delegate. The job is not a small job, so he can delegate. All right. So I mean, he can have some consultations and everything. Like see to it like he is the MD, and whatever an MD does in his office, that is what the Commissioner General does. Of course, that this part two is not really an examinable area in your exam, but you should know. All right. Now, because his work is massive, we have, and when I was in university, I was taught that there are delegatable powers of the Commissioner General, and we have non-delegatable powers of the Commissioner General. Actually, when I finished university and I did my chartered taxation, I realized that that statement was not true. In fact, all the functions of the Commissioner General are delegatable. It's just that there is a limit to the delegation. So we have those ones that he can delegate to only the commissioners. to the division, the 3 divisions. We have those ones that he can delegate only to those commissioners. And we have those ones that he can also delegate to the senior revenue officers. In fact, those of you who don't know the senior revenue officers, if you go to any GRA office, whether it is Bogatanga, whether the GRA offices in every place that you've been seeing, there is a leader of that building, that office. He is called the senior revenue officer. All right. So he also has some powers, certain things he can do that is delegated to him by the Commissioner General. So we have those delegations. So when it comes to the Commissioner General's delegatable functions, so we have those ones, like I said, those ones that he can only delegate to the commissioners, the 3 commissioners. We call these ones exclusives. And we are going to look at that. Exclusives. Then we have those ones that he can delegate to the senior revenue officers, like those ones that are in the various tax buildings that you see in Ghana. All right. So that is that. Now, let's look at these ones. It's very interesting. So we call them the exclusive powers. Now watch this. According to the position of the law in section 14 of the 791, this is how it refers to it. The CJ may delegate functions specified under section 14, all right, of the Ghana Revenue Authority to tax officers, but shall not delegate functions to any other person, even if the person is an expert or a public officer assisting him in his performance. So that is how it is. There is a limit to his delegation, a limit to his delegation. So for this purpose of the section 14, subsection 1, subsection 2 says that only tax officer of the rank of a senior revenue officer or above. So that is what you see there. Like I said, tax is a matter of law. My job is to make the law memorable in your mind. Yeah, so you don't have to go and read this, but once I talk about it, you have it. So basically, that is that. So you see those ones that is done under section 4 and section 5 and the others. All right. So the exclusive powers, number 1, we have this one, power to grant extension. Grant an extension for holding documents or seized assets. All right. Now, you can reference this thing in section 33 of Revenue Administrative Act 915. What does it mean? You see, what you should understand is that sometimes the authority can seize documents. So, you know, when they come to you, maybe they are doing audit or anything, they can seize your document. All right, they can seize your document. They can sometimes also seize your assets. Yeah, they can do that. Now, when they seize the asset, or let's say they seized a document, they are supposed to seize it for 6 months. It can only be with them for 6 months. It cannot be more than 6 months. It cannot be more than 6 months. Now, once the 6 months is over, they must give you back your assets. But this function that says that the power to grant an extension for holding a document tells us that after the 6 months is over, he can now say that in the case of a document, all right, so we say that he can retain your document for 6 months. Now, in the case of a document, we are saying that he can extend the cessation of the document for 6 months. In the case of an asset, he can extend. Once he sees it for the first 6 months, he can extend it for another cessation period of 1 month. Please, I hope what I've said is understood. So he can seize your assets for 6 months or your document for 6 months, but he has the power to extend it. All right, he has the power to extend it. So if it is a document, he has the power to extend the cessation to another 6 months. The law says that it should not exceed 12 months from the time of the cessation. So from the first 6 months, an additional 6 months, it will never exceed 12 months. So that is that. So he has the power to seize something, a document from you. You have to know this. It's a law. You have to know this. And these are the places you should start taking note of, especially under this new syllabus. So that is their the first one. Now, don't forget, I said that this one, he can delegate to any of the 3 commissioners. But you see, this is what happened. And the division that is actually practicing this one, who can give me an idea? Division, the 3 divisions, which one do you think is very likely to be practicing the cessation of documents and maybe an asset? Which one do you think? Think about it. The 3 divisions. Think about it.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I think that should be the customs division.
Yes, the customs. And they do it a lot. In fact, they do it in such a way that sometimes they even abuse it. Yes, sometimes they abuse it. Yeah. I don't know if you heard the news in last year or last 2 years thereabout that somebody brought his car. And yes, of course, those people can seize it into the state warehouse. At some point, if you don't come for the house, they auction it. We will learn that thing. But apparently, somebody gave someone a hint that his car is on the motorway. A lady is driving the car on the motorway. And policeman stopped the car. And they asked the lady for the papers of ownership of the car. He said that if the guy doesn't take it, he will call the commissioner. You are driving somebody's car. We ask you for documents. You say you call the commissioner. And they called the commissioner. And the commissioner told the policeman that if he wants to keep his job, he should let the lady pass. In fact, sometimes some of the stories, they are very funny. They are very funny. How some people want to use the position to just capture people's assets. Yeah, it's just unfortunate, but it happens. So customs are the one that practice this, and sometimes they do it on the more extreme way. Then we have number 2. Number 2 is the power to remit a penalty. Power to remit penalty. Power to remit penalty. Now, this word remit is very confusing. Be very, very careful about the word remit, because for some of us, when we say remit, all we understand remit to be is that somebody is transferring something, transferring money to somebody. But the word remit here used means that to pardon something, to pardon or to forgive. Forgive. So the Commissioner General has the power to forgive you of any penalty. Was it last year? Yeah, last 2 years. It actually came in 2022. So as part of his function of remitting penalty, they gave an amnesty, if you remember. And that is what the vice president is promising these days, that he will be giving amnesty every 5 years. Now, you and I know that if I know that the president will give me amnesty every 5 years, that I will also not comply 5 years. So that when the amnesty comes, I'll be forgiven of the penalty. You see, it defeats the concept of time value of money. Yeah. So it is a dangerous thing he is promising. For some of us, we know that is not a reality. Yeah, that one part there is not a reality. Because you can't tell somebody that, come and owe me 5 years' time. Instead of you paying penalty on the owings, I'll forgive you of the penalty. Then me too, I will not be paying you till that 5 years come. So it's a dangerous promise. Very, very dangerous. Yeah. So the power to remit is just the power to pardon. All right. Pardon. What does this mean? So it means that if you have some penalties that you are supposed to pay, according to Section 65 of the Revenue Administrative Act 915, we are told that the CJ can forgive you of those penalties. All right. He can forgive you. He's not forgiving you on your tax liability. You get the difference. He's forgiving you on the penalty. Now, what's this caveat? You see, The caveat is that he is only forgiving you on the grounds that it is impossible for him to collect it. And this is it. That it is impossible for him to collect the money. So that is that. So it's not like he's actually really forgiving you and all those things, but it is impossible for him to collect the money. And so in such cases, he can so power to remit on the grounds of impossibility to collect the tax. All right. So please take note of that. Take note of that. And sometimes before they forgive you of the penalty, it means you have to pay the real amount that you are owing. All right. So that is that. But you see, only on the grounds that it is impossible to collect the tax. Who determines the impossibility to collect the tax? Is the Commissioner General. So he now says it is impossible for him to collect. Can you debate that with him? So there is a loophole in the tax system whereby even the Commissioner General can make money for his personal use. Yeah, so all that you need to do is that, I mean, he tells you officially that there's no grounds for him to possibly collect the money, and that's the end. But for all you know, he can corner some money sideways. So that is that. So you put it in writing that, I mean, you are kind of pardoning the penalty that the person is owing. All right. So basically that is that. Then the third one is the power to compound an offense. Now, for a layman person, when we say to compound an offense, my first understanding when I read this, when I saw it, was that possibly he is going to double your offense. Compound. Yes, but that is not the meaning of the compounding. Here, compounding means that let's settle it amicably. To settle something amicably. Let's bring it home and solve it. So you know that there are certain instances where if you fail, you are supposed to be taken to court. But the Commissioner General can actually compound it. What we mean is that he can settle the thing with you amicably. That's section 86 of our Revenue Administrative Act 915. So you can do that, settle the thing with you amicably. All right. And sometimes before they do that, they take some asset from you. You have to give something in place. Now, if you settle the thing amicably and you settle it, it can never be taken to court. The settlement is assumed to be like the decision of the High Court. All right. So that ends the story. But when you assault a revenue officer, let's say a GRA staff comes to your office, then you assault him. That one, they can't solve it amicably. They have to still take you to court. All right. So that is that. That is the part that I have elaborated here. That, however, it must be noted that the CJ shall not compound an offense in respect of conduct of a tax officer or a public official acting in an official capacity. All right. So if you cause harm to such person, no. Now, we come to the fourth one, which is the power to issue practice notes and private ruling. All right, practice notes. I will be sharing with you some practice notes, all right, and private ruling or class ruling. Class ruling. What is a practice note? There are so many sources of tax law. Constitution, of course, is one of them. The Income Tax Act is one of them. Practice note is also one of them. What is a practice note? A practice note simply is the Commissioner General's position on the tax law, his opinion on the tax law. All right. So the Commissioner General's position on the tax law. Sometimes the law is ambiguous a little. You don't understand it. But the Commissioner General gives you his position of the tax law, and he is the one who is administering the tax law. And so therefore, it becomes a law on how the citizens are supposed to do it, how the taxpayers are supposed to do it. So the practice note is just to help us achieve some consistency and have education about the tax law, certain ambiguities about the tax law. So sometimes, like I said, when people are having a misjudgment on the law, then the Commissioner General will come in and explain it. All right. So that is that. That is the practice note. Now, what you need to know is that the the practice note is not binding on the taxpayer. So what we say is that it can is therefore we say that it is the practice note that is binding on the Commissioner General until it is revoked. You see, it is the Commissioner General's word, so it is binding on him. All right, it is binding on him. Like I said, the purpose is to achieve consistency, because when he says A is A, everybody is doing it A, so we have consistency. All right, so again, he provides guidance to it. He gives us guidance and he sets out his interpretation. So that is what we have. So that is the purpose of the practice note. Now, it is binding on the Commissioner General unless it is taken out of the gazetting. If you go to the Assembly Press, everything that comes in as law is gazetted at the Assembly Press. All right. So unless he comes to take it off the system, whatever it is in is binding on him. Let me give you a typical example of what happened in 2021. Now, in 2021, the GRA issued a practice note on COVID. There was a practice note on COVID-19. The practice note took effect in May 2021. But the law was passed in March. It was assented in March, assented to by the president in March, which means that it was applicable in April. It was applicable in April. I was in the office, so I applied it on invoices in April because I wanted to save myself. But when I was about to apply it, I saw because of the 1% COVID, VAT, the flat rate went to 4%. Yeah, it used to be 3%, but it went to 4%. Now, then the Commissioner General cited an example of 4% calculation on, let's say, 100 cedis. And the answer is what? What should be the answer? What do you think is the answer? 4% on 100 is what? 4, right?
4 cedis.
Exactly. But in the Commissioner General's calculation, he put there 3. Now, since it is 3, you could see that he is still having at the backdrop of his mind the old 3%. Is that not it? And people were afraid what to do. So I called, like I said, my own man, my boss, the assistant to the Commissioner General, your examiner. And I said, sir, he taught me when I was doing my CIT. I said, sir, the practice note that has been released, there is a mistake in it. He said, oh, really? Then I showed him, he said, oh my goodness. My friend, educate all your tax practitioners, okay? Educate them so that we don't have to change this. All right, so that was the job that I was tasked with. Guys, just a minute. So that is the part of the Commissioner General. All right, so in terms of the practice notes. All right, so like I was saying, I was tasked to tell all my group members that we should go ahead and use the thing as it is and keep the correct one, which is the 4. All right, so that is the practice notes. All right, it is to the public, to the general public. Now, you can't say you didn't see the practice note because by law, every company is to be buying graphic every day by law. So it is published in at least 2 of the national daily newspapers. So it is always there. You can't say you don't have it. It is also at the GRA website. You didn't look for it doesn't mean you don't have it. So that is that. Then we have the private ruling. Now, this is the difference between a practice note and a private ruling. You see, the practice note is for the general public. It's for the public. Everybody uses it. But when it comes to the private ruling, it is an individual. Private ruling is an individual who wants to find the Commissioner General's opinion on a tax law, the provision of a tax law. So that one is between him and the Commissioner General. All right. So that is the difference between the practice note and the private ruling. So when it is about one person going to the Commissioner General to seek his position on the provision of a tax law, it is a private ruling. But let's say many private people who are in the same industry, all right, come together to go and see the Commissioner General. So let's say all poultry farmers, there's something about the tax law they don't understand. They all come together and they go and see the Commissioner General to know his position on that provision. That one is the one we call class ruling. All right, class ruling. This one, it is binding on the taxpayer as well. It is binding on that person to the extent, you see, the Commissioner General depends on the fact that whatever this guy is giving him is truthful and honest, so that he can also give you an information. But if you lie to him and he gave you an information, it cannot be binding on the Commissioner General. So basically, that is that. Let me give you a typical example. Those of you who know this town, Kaswa. Where is Kaswa? Is Kaswa in the central region? Or Kaswa is in Greater Accra?
Central region.
Kaswa is in central region. All right. But it looks as if part of Kaswa is in Greater Accra. You know the funny thing, when I was in university, like I was in university second year, so that would be like 13 years ago. They used to bring in to our exam question, they call a place wager. Those days, wager. And they brought a tax question. You know the thing is that per the tax law, if you are a company, and we will learn that in tax planning, if you are a company who is located in Greater Accra, your tax rate is 25%. If you are not in Greater Accra, then you are in a regional capital, your tax rate is 18.75. But you see, even this, so many companies don't know. A manufacturing company is what I'm talking about. So many of them, they don't know, they keep paying 25%. But if you are in any place other than a regional capital, so you'll be paying 12.5%. So Kaswa tax is 12.5% if you're a manufacturing company. Now, there may be a town in Kaswa that divides Kaswa from a Greater Accra, because it looks as if Kaswa is the junction. But there will be a town that will be in the middle here. That will be dividing Accra from Greater Accra. You don't know whether that town is in Kaswa or whether that town is in Greater Accra. So you have to go to the Commissioner General. Mr. Commissioner General, please, I'm establishing my business in this geographical position. I just want to know, in your tax law, is it positioned in central region or is positioned in Greater Accra, so that you will know which one to use, all right? So that GRA doesn't come later and say you apply the wrong rate. So basically, that is how that one works, all right? That is how it works. All right, so that is the private ruling and the class ruling. So when people come together to go and see the Commissioner General, that is the purpose, all right? So that is that. Function number 5. Function number 5. Function number 5 is the power to exempt somebody from withholding tax. And this is it, the power to exempt a person from withholding tax. Now, there is nobody on this earth or on Ghana land can exempt somebody from paying tax. No one. Except the Constitution through Parliament. All right, so that is that. But when we talk about withholding tax, I believe most of us understand withholding tax. So the tax that somebody deducts from a payment he's supposed to give you, and we will learn about it. So people are supposed to withhold tax when they buy things from other people and they are paying. But you see, the Commissioner General can say that when you buy from this guy, you can't withhold tax. So he will give them something we call withholding tax exemption certificate. So that is that. So that when you are paying them, you cannot withhold tax from them. All right, so the Commissioner General has that power under Section 116 of the Income Tax Act. All right, so basically that is that. But you see, this is the thing that they are supposed to do. The person who is exempted from withholding tax is supposed to do, which I know they don't do, is that you see all those payments from which withholding tax would have been withheld, but because you have the exemption, they are not withheld. You are supposed to be filing those things quarterly to the Commissioner General. You are supposed to be doing that. But me, I know that they don't. They don't. Really, they really don't. All right. So that is that. So that is another power. Then the sixth power, we are talking about the power to abate a duty. The word abate means that you are reducing something. All right, you are reducing something. So the Custom Act allows for that. That the Commissioner General, through the Commissioner at the Customs, can actually abate somebody's duty. But that one is upon first examination. All right. So that is that. You have to do that. You can't just abate like that. It's on first examination. You have to do the examination of the goods. All right. And the person also proves that some damage has been sustained on the goods, because I don't know if it is legit, if it is in good shape, yeah, the person should pay all the duty. But if the thing is damaged and probably may not be able to use it like the way they would want to use it, why still charge that much of a duty on something that a person cannot be able to use like that? All right, so basically that is that. Then the last one is about the power to determine matters concerning capitalization of profit. And this thing is always examinable in your exam, so be very careful. Let me show you what it is. And we will be learning it, all right, in tax planning. We will be learning it. It's always examinable. Now, you have heard of bonus issue, right issue. You've heard of those things before. Now, when we say capitalization of profit, what it simply means is that you are moving money from your retained earnings and you are putting it inside your stated capital. They use that through this means. That is what they do. Moving money from your retained earnings to your stated capital means you are dodging tax. Because in Ghana, if you are all monies that passes through stated capital used to be taxed at 0.5%, but since April 2023, the tax was increased to 1%. We call it stamp duty. All right, that is it. So if you move the money from retained earnings to stated capital, you have dodged this 1% currently. And so the Commissioner General would deal with that with you. All right. So recapitalization or capitalization of profit is the movement of money from retained earnings to stated capital. Now, what is actually supposed to happen is that when you have the money in your stated capital, you need to pay dividend to the shareholder. Then the shareholder will now use the money to buy shares, but they do right issues and bonus issues. That is what they do. So what the Commissioner General will say is that, number one, we will do what we call Section 58, subsection 3 of Act 896. All right, he will do something we call deemed dividend. And dividend, anyway, who knows the withholding tax rate for dividend? If you know, just but we will learn it anyway. If you have an idea, let me know. Then you also pay the stamp duty. The withholding tax percentage on dividend is 8%. This stamp duty is paid to the registrar of companies. And that one is also 1%. But if a company does this capitalization, you will see that they have dodged these percentages. Have you seen that? So the Commissioner General will deal with that. All right, we will look at that later in the course. All right, so it is always examinable. It's always examinable. So be careful of this. All right, so that is that. Now, let's look at those ones you can delegate to the senior revenue officers. Then we will look at the element of tax administration. All right. So that is that. Now, what you see in here is that when it comes to the senior revenue officers, those one we normally see in their offices. I mean, these ones are the ones that I take as friends, because sometimes some of them passes through the same classes and they get to know you. So and I'm also a tax consultant. So if I enter their offices, they've seen a brother. All right. And I'm coming to deal for clients. Now, what these people can do, the delegatable powers to them is number one, the power to extend the date of payment or vary an amount payable by installment. What do we mean by that? Now, if you are working for a company, you should understand that the law says that all entities given in section 124, 125 of Act 896 are supposed to file what we call quarterly tax. So you know that from 2023, you did budget for your 2024. Your office did budget. So your office knows here from 2023, somewhere in November, that in 2024, we are going to make a profit of 100,000. You know, out of this figure, you are supposed to file this profit with GRA and tax 25% on it. So when I tax 25% on this, it's how much? 25,000, right? Now, if this is my tax, you are supposed to file, you are supposed to do quarterly. So that is what we call by installment. So this by 5 will give me how much? Yes, calculators. Yes. Yes, punch calculators and give me the figure. By 4, 25,000 on quarterly. How much will you get?
Yes. 5,000.
It can't be 5,000. It's supposed to be 6,250, right?
6.25.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is that. Yeah, so every quarter you are supposed to be paying 6,250. Please, if you've not been doing this for your office, do it, because the deadline for this one, for this quarterly filing every year, is on the third month. So please take note of that. We will be learning all these things. All right, we will be learning all these things because the quarter is 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, making 12. So by 31st March 2024, you should have filed your quarterly installment with GRA. If you don't do, please be doing, because it is a filing that you have to do. If you delay, the first day you delay is 500 cedis. Then any other day counting from the first day is 10 Ghana cedis. So if you didn't do it this year by March 2024 for your entity, count the number of days and multiply. You will see that you have a penalty to pay. Yeah. And that is why you are learning this course. Tax is a practical course. All right. So that is that. So every quarter you are supposed to be paying 6,250. But you can go and meet the guy and say, Chief, this quarter, I don't have the 6,250. So I want to vary the amount. I want to vary. So instead of Q1, if I'm supposed to pay 6,250, I'm saying that, oh, Chairman, I don't have 6,250. So let me pay 5,000. By the time we get to quarter 2, maybe I have gotten money more. I have gotten more money. All right. So in quarter 2, I will pay the 6,250 plus the 1,250 that I didn't pay in quarter 1. So you vary it. All right. You vary it. You vary the date. Instead of paying it on the exactly the same quarter, you will actually do it on another quarter. Now, because this thing is what I'm teaching you is not just for your exam, but also as a tax person, let me show you something. All right, let me show you something. So I'm going to use, this is the GRA tax portal. All right, so that is the GRA tax portal. So we all have taxpayers, all right? So taxpayers portal. So you put in the entity's number, and if you are an individual, you can put in your Ghana card number, all right? So you put in, please, everybody is supposed to have this. This is my personal Ghana card number. This is me. Now, I'm not an entity, so I'm not supposed to do quarterly tax filing. I'm not an entity, so I'm not supposed to do that, all right? But everybody is supposed to have it. You see, it is here. And this is where the technology is taking. GRA is saying that I owe them in 2022, 6,610, and in 2021, 7,377. This thing is a lie. and unfortunately, I think that I have made a mistake. Do you know why? I've been doing it for people and I forgot my own. So penalties might probably be accruing for me personally. So you see, personally, I think I did it. You see, I filed my taxes. I have filed my PIT for 2023. I filed for 2022. I filed for 2021. So actually, I did my filing. You have not done it. This thing started in 2021. You've not done it. Meaning that the day you go and do for your 2021, you are in trouble. All the time you didn't do, it's counting 500 cedis, 10 Ghana, 10 Ghana. It is waiting for you. So you have to look sharp. But I know the thing they have here is a mistake, and I can show you why. When you work for an entity, you pay payee, right? Your entity pays your payee. This money they put there is actually supposed to be my payee. So they've not actually put in their system the payees that people were paying for me. That is why you see this. So once they put it in, it will resolve. You can see clearly that I don't have 2023. That tells you that from 2023 up to now, I've not been working for anybody. So there is no payee for me. Yeah. So that is that. So maybe you can give me a job. Is that okay? Maybe you can give me a job. All right. So I've been jobless since 2023. Yeah. So that is that. That is that. Anyway, so
But sir, this quarterly payment, is it applicable to all companies?
Yeah, it's applicable to anybody who pay tax by installment. And people who pay tax by installment according to section 124 is for all companies. So far as you are a company, you are supposed to.
I'm wondering how we could do that at my workplace.
Like a school?
Yeah.
And you can do it. See, your school, you are a non-profit making organization, is that not it?
Yeah.
Is that how you registered it?
Yeah.
And so you file it and you are not deeming to have any profit, so it's zero. So since you don't have profit, yeah, so
well, we pay a lot of tax.
Oh, you pay tax? Then it means you do pay income tax every year?
Yes, a lot.
Oh, then it means you are supposed to file quarterly tax.
Just last I went to pay, it was almost 32,000.
Okay, later on I will show you that when we are doing the FACA, the element, I will show you, because sometimes the GRA themselves do it for you. They will do it for you. Yeah, sometimes they will do it for you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but in actual sense, we have moved from enforced. We are not doing voluntary compliance. Per voluntary compliance, everybody is supposed to do it themselves, not the GRA doing for them. So you are supposed to actually do it. And I will show you, we will be learning the penalty calculation for not doing that. Yeah. So it means you have to look sharp. I will show you, it's part of the things we are going to learn. So that is this part. Then we have the power to authorize an officer to have access to your books. That is when they send their GRA staff to come to your office to do audits. All right. So that is that. So these are the two main delegatable powers. So power to have access to your books and also assess you. Then power to also extend the dates, all right, for your tax payment. So ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to what do we call it? The functions of the commissioner. general, the function, the governance aspect of the Revenue Administrative Act. All right, so that is that.